This right next to me is the Mitsubishi Outlander GSR, and this of course is the new top specification version of the Outlander that sits above the existing Exceed and Exceed Tourer. And this is priced from just under $74,000, making it the most expensive Mitsubishi you can buy in Australia. So in this video, I'm going to see if it's worth stepping up to this GSR grade, and also whether or not if you should choose the standard Outlander or go for this PHEV version. And before we start, I would love it if you could subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload a new car review, because I've got more coming. So let's get straight into the video. If the plug-in hybrid version of the Outlander is too expensive, you could go for a standard petrol-powered version, and they are priced from $37,000 climbing up to $55,000 with the choice between a front-wheel drive, or for an extra $2,500 you could go for an all-wheel drive version, and of course you've got the option between a 5 and 7 seat configuration. Whereas if you go for the plug-in hybrid version of the Outlander, they come standard in all-wheel drive form, and they also start from $57,000 before on-road costs, climbing up just under $74,000 for this top spec GSR, which is the one I'm featuring in the video. And if you are looking at other options that include plug-in hybrid technology and 7 seats, well, the only other option that I could think of is the Kia Sorento PHEV 7-seater. Right, let's move on to the design. So the color of this car is finished off in graphite grey along with black mica, so you get a black roof up the top there. And if you don't like the color, there are 4 other external colors to pick from. And this being the GSR, you get gloss black along the grille, as well as black Outlander badging on the bonnet, and more of that gloss black extending towards the front. You also notice the top section of the light is also blacked out, and finally, looking lower down, black cladding down the bottom. And if I draw your attention to the headlights, up the top here are the LED DRLs, and integrated within them are the progressive LED turn signals, and the section below it are the full LED headlights. And furthermore, it also comes with automatic high beam assist, the adaptive cornering function, and finally, looking lower down, LED fog lights. And now moving towards the side view of the Outlander, so specific to the GSR, it sits on 20-inch alloy wheels that are finished off in gloss black, and the gloss black treatment also extends on the wing mirrors, window surrounds, the roof rails, and you also get privacy glass on the third quarter. And finally, moving on to the rear design. So from the back, we've got partial LED tail lights, and specific to the GSR, we've got a gloss black roof mounted spoiler, and lower down, gloss black cladding on the rear bar. And of course, this being the PHEV version, you have the exhaust pipes covered up. And finally, styling is subjective. So what do we all think about the GSR? Does it look sporty with all the gloss black trim elements, or do you prefer the chrome like what is featured on the Exceed Tourer? Write down your opinion in the comment section down below, as I am keen for your feedback. Right, moving on to the cabin. So before you climb inside, the Outlander has a remote key, keyless entry, and push button start. And in terms of the overall presentation, there is a nice modern dashboard layout, and in comparison to something like a Toyota RAV4 or a Nissan X-Trail, it does present very well inside. And some of the key standout features include a panoramic glass sunroof. You also get this quilted leather design on the doors, and that also extends on the seats as well. And the seats themselves include electric adjustment with memory, as well as lumbar support. And if I go into the infotainment, as you can see, they also include a massage function. And if we look towards this section here, physical dials for the dual zone climate control, as well as buttons here to heat the front row seats. You can also heat the steering wheel as well. And finally, it offers both manual, tilt, and reach adjustment. And if we look around the dashboard on the top surface, that feels pretty good. You even get this soft padding along here, and that all feels very nice. However, scratchy materials looking lower down, but around this section, you get this soft padding. And you also get a soft to the touch center armrest as well. And finally, on the doors, scratchy plastics, even looking lower down towards the speaker grills. However, you do get soft padding along here, as well as soft padding where you rest your elbow, and also complemented by gloss black and this carbon material. And now moving on to technology, it all runs off this 9-inch touchscreen. And if you don't like touchscreens, you can use the physical buttons down below or the physical dials to cycle through different menus. And overall, the system is fairly easy to use. Now, running you through the key features, if I go into audio, you have AM, FM, DAB, along with USB and Bluetooth connectivity. For the sound system, a 10-speaker Bose system. And in terms of smartphone mirroring, you have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and this is what Apple CarPlay looks like on the system. So as you can see, very nicely integrated, and the system itself is wireless. However, Android Auto is wired. In addition to that, you've also got voice control, which works best with smartphone integration. If I click on map, that is your inbuilt satellite navigation. So overall, relatively easy to use, pretty clear. And if we move on to safety and assistance, if I flick it into reverse, you've got a surround view 360-degree camera with parking guidelines. And if I click on camera, you can cycle through the different views, such as your gutter angles, rear view, a widescreen. So a pretty clever system. In addition to that, you've also got blind spot monitors on the wing mirrors, as well as a lane keeping assistant and a lane assist. So this car does have the ability to steer itself within its lane. And up the top here, autonomous emergency braking, auto dimming revision mirror, got adaptive cruise control with the ability to set the distance between your vehicle and the vehicle in front. And finally, right in front of me is a heads-up display showing me my speed traveling, driver assistance, and a speed sign recognition. And if we now move towards a 12.3-inch screen, on the left-hand side is a rev counter and an EV charge mode. And to cycle through the different menus, you just push on this button here, and that will change the display, looking at fuel consumption, navigation, media functions, driver assistance, and other various functions. There's also a dedicated EV menu system, so it shows you a lot of information, what is actually going on internally with the powertrain, so that is pretty cool. And down below are your drive mode functions, so you've got a toggle here to cycle through the different drive modes, such as power, eco, normal, tarmac, gravel, snow, and mud. And the buttons up here are your eco driving mode, so the left hand button is regenerative braking, whereas the right hand button cycles through normal, EV, save, and charge if you want to leave all the charge in the battery and just run on petrol power. And finally, storage. So the door bins fit a big bottle of water. You've also got additional storage within the bins and a decent size glove box over here that fits the owner's manual in quite well. There's also wireless phone charging, along with a USB-C and a USB-A port, a 12-volt socket, and in the center, 2 small cup holders that fit small bottles of water. There is also additional storage on each side, a decent center console that goes down relatively deep, and finally, up the top here, a sunglasses holder. Okay, moving on to the second row. So this front row seat is set in my driving position, and from what we can see, I've got a decent amount of knee room. Toe room is also pretty good, and headroom is okay considering that there is a panoramic glass sunroof above me. In addition to that, you could also manually move the seats forwards and backwards and even recline them forwards and backwards. And in regards to other key features, you've got some device holders up the top here, along with some map pockets, directional air vents. There is also climate control for the second row, and the 2 outboard seats can also be heated using these 2 buttons here. And down below you get a USB-C and USB-A port, and finally below it is an AC power socket. And moving along the doors, you've got decent door bin storage that could also fit a bottle of water, along with these manual sunshades to keep the light out. You can also drop this section down, revealing a center armrest along with 2 additional cup holders. And finally, for baby seats, these 2 outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible. And right behind me, there are 2 top tether points, along with a roof-mounted top tether point. Okay, moving on to the third row. So as you can see, I've had to move the second row seats forward because, as you can see, when they are all the way back, you don't really have that much room. And climbing inside the third row isn't an easy process, but once you are seated, you just clip that into place. And as you can see, I've barely got any toe room. Knee room is okay because, like I mentioned, you can move the seats forwards and backwards, and there are 2 cup holders on each side, but really this is only a kid-friendly zone because I've barely got any headroom. And yeah, for occasional use, this is fine. And let's not forget, this is a plug-in hybrid 7-seater, so the packaging is overall pretty clever. But just keep in mind, if you are planning on using this as a family car, there are no ISOFIX points or top tether points like what you get on some other 7-seater SUVs. Okay, let's now move on to the boot space. So if I just open this up, as you can see, you get a power operated tailgate, which is very nice. And with the third row in place, you've got plenty of space for school bags, shopping bags, and small luggage items. And in addition to that, you've also got space down there for the 2 charging cables, but just bear in mind, when you do fold down the third row, that space is taken up, and you don't get a spare tyre or a space saver like what you'll find on the standard non-plug-in hybrid version of the Outlander. So instead, this features run flat tyres with the tyre repair kit, and that is also where you'll find the toolkit. And if I just demonstrate folding down the third row, you just pull on these levers to fold the headrest down, and then pull this down. You can follow the numbers on the diagram. So unlock that latch, fold that, and there you have it. Plenty of space for maybe 2 large suitcases. So yeah, pretty spacious. And you've also got some tie-down hooks, a light there, more tie-down hooks, and the load bay is flat, along with a power outlet, as the Outlander plug-in hybrid has vehicle to load. And if you want to fold down the second row, you can quite easily do that using the levers in the back seat, or you can fold them down using these levers. So the process is nice and easy. And that is what it looks like on the screen. And in terms of capacity and figures, all of those items are on the screen now. Right, moving on to the powertrain. So under the bonnet features a 2.4 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, and power is sent to all 4 wheels through a front and rear electric motor setup. And as a result, the Outlander has a combined output figure of 185 kilowatts and 450 newton meters of torque. And instead of a CVT, the PHEV is equipped with a single-speed transaxle gearbox. And if we move on to the ownership, the Outlander comes with a 5-year, 100,000 kilometre warranty, and if you service through Mitsubishi, the warranty will then extend to 10 years or 200,000 kilometres, and you also get 4 years of roadside assistance. But let's now move on to the charging. So of course, on the passenger side, being a plug-in hybrid, you've got a fuel filler cap, and on the driver's side is where you are going to charge up. So you've got AC charging with a Type 2 connector, and this will charge up to 100% in between 6 and 9 hours at a charging rate of 3.7 kilowatts. And on the right hand side is where you're going to find the Chatamo plug, and this will charge up to 100% in 38 minutes. And like I mentioned, you of course have vehicle to load, being a plug-in hybrid, so that means you can plug in appliances. And in terms of the warranty, the battery is covered up to 8 years or 160,000 kilometers, depending whichever comes first. And finally, Mitsubishi claims that this PHEV version of the Outlander has a full driving range of 84 kilometers. So let's get it out on the road and see how it performs. All right, behind the wheel inside the Outlander. So first of all, you've got great vision up the front, good side vision as well, decent sized wing mirrors, and rear visibility is also pretty good. However, if you do have the third row in place with the headrest up, that could impair visibility. But aside from that, great 360-degree camera, and because this does have a turning circle radius of around 10 meters, it's a very easy car to maneuver around town. The steering has a good feel to it. It's nice and light, but responsive at the same time. Now, in terms of the ride comfort, the suspension itself is on the soft side, but as the GSR does feature the big 20-inch alloy wheels, which are low profile and are wrapped around in run flat tires, there is going to be a compromise in terms of how this car performs going over bumps. So yes, it can be a bit bumpy at times on really broken surfaces, and when you do reach speeds past 80 kilometers, that's when you'll start to hear a little bit of tyre noise in the cabin. And in terms of how this performs in comparison to the non-plug-in hybrid Outlander, the standard version is equipped with a non-turbocharged 2.4 litre 4-cylinder engine with the choice between front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, and it does lack a bit of punch and power because it's non-turbocharged, whereas the PHEV version, if you put your foot down, it really does move, thanks to the assistance of all the electrification. Now, if we move on to the drive modes, I've been cruising around in Eco, and if I flick it into normal, you don't notice a huge difference. However, in power mode, when you accelerate in that drive mode, it throws you back into your seat. So it is a lot of fun. And of course, this being equipped with all-wheel drive, you've got tarmac, gravel, snow and mud if you do drive around on unsealed surfaces, so that is pretty good. And if I of course press this button here, that is the single pedal drive mode. And then when you cycle through the different EV modes, you've got normal, EV for electric only, save if you want to store all the energy in the battery and just use the internal combustion engine, and then charge if you want to use the brakes as regen braking to store energy back into the battery pack. Now if we move on to the driving range and efficiency figures, so in electric only this does have a claimed figure of 84 kilometers and I managed to achieve 77 kilometers. And in terms of an overall fuel consumption rating combined with the internal combustion engine, Mitsubishi claims that this has a driving figure. Mitsubishi claims that this can achieve 1.5 litres per 100. That's not entirely close to what I achieved. My figure was around 7 litres, but it did drop down to 4.2 litres on the freeway. So overall, it's still efficient, but yeah, with plug-in hybrids, the claimed figure is never really that close to what you'll get in the real world. Plug-in hybrid technology is interesting because it does suit a wide range of scenarios, especially for Australia, because we do a lot of driving, or majority of Australians. And yeah, this is great if you want to drive around in electric only around town, not only saving fuel but money. And you do a lot of driving, let's just say to Barrow and back, like the journey I just did, and you need that backup of an internal combustion car. This is pretty much the best of both worlds. And plus you've got the practicality of a 7-seater, and overall I am a big fan of the Outlander. I think it is a great product, so therefore I do see the benefits of plug-in hybrid technology for the right purpose. But yes, it is expensive, so you've got to make sure if it's right for you and your requirements and your day-to-day driving activities. So with my driving impressions out of the way, let's now wrap up with a verdict. So what is my final verdict on the Mitsubishi plug-in hybrid EV? Well, let's start off with the model grade GSR. So if I was to pick out an Outlander for myself, and if I didn't need 7 seats, I think the Aspire is the sweet spot in the range because it comes with all of the features that you actually do appreciate, because I think the GSR is starting to creep up in price, and drive away, it's going to cost around $80,000. And for that kind of money gets you a lot of other alternatives. However, if I did need the 7 seats, then the Exceed, I think, is more than enough if you don't need the heated rear outboard seats or the massage function. And secondly, would I go for the standard Outlander, or would I pick the plug-in hybrid version? Well, not only you get the benefit of the car being more efficient and driving in full electric, but it's also more engaging to drive and much more powerful, because the standard Outlander, whilst as a package I think it's very good, it lacks a bit of power and punch, and it's not as efficient or engaging to drive, whereas this plug-in hybrid version ticks all of those boxes. But like I mentioned, you are going to pay a premium, but let me know what you would pick, whether or not you would choose the standard petrol version or go for the PHEV. And if you gained value from this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.